Today, we're going through every single net worth level, from dead broke to generational wealth, and I'm going to show you exactly what life looks like, feels like, and costs like at every single stage. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you're going to look at your own number completely differently. My name is Max. Let's get into it. Level 1. Negative net worth. The whole, $0 to minus $50,000. Let's start at the bottom. And I mean the real bottom. If you're in negative net worth territory, you are not alone. In fact, statistically, a massive chunk of the population lives right here with you. Student loans, car loans, credit card debt, you owe more than you own. Life at this level isn't just financially uncomfortable, it's mentally exhausting. Every single purchase comes with a silent calculator running in your head. Can I afford this? Should I put this on the card? Is the interest going to kill me this month? You don't even realize it's happening anymore. It's just background noise. A constant, low-grade financial anxiety that follows you into the grocery store, into the restaurant, into the bar when your friends want to go out and you have to pretend you're not hungry. At negative net worth, your relationship with money is purely reactive. You're not building, you're surviving. You're trying to plug holes in a sinking boat with your bare hands. Sleep is affected. Relationships are affected. The way you walk into a job interview, knowing that you need this, is affected. But here's what people don't tell you about this level. It's actually one of the most educational places you can be. Because when you have nothing, every dollar you earn teaches you something about money that people who started with wealth will never understand. You learn the value of $10 in a way that no millionaire can teach their kid. The danger here isn't the debt. It's the mindset that the debt is permanent. It isn't. Level 2. $0 to $10,000. The first breath you've paid off the debt, or maybe you never had it. Either way, you have a positive net worth for the first time. This feels incredible for about 2 weeks. Then reality sets in. Because $5,000, even $10,000, doesn't actually do anything in 2025. It doesn't generate income. It doesn't protect you from a real emergency. One medical bill, one car breakdown, one unexpected move, and you're back to zero. But psychologically, this is a massive shift. For the first time, you have a buffer between you and disaster. You stop waking up in cold sweats. You stop doing the math 3 times before buying a $40 jacket. You start, just barely, thinking about the future instead of just surviving the present. At this level, most people are living paycheck to paycheck, but with a small safety net. They have a job, probably renting, maybe one car, very little invested. Netflix, a gym membership, maybe a vacation once a year that gets partially put on a credit card. The key move at this level, and almost nobody does it, is to treat your savings like a bill. Automate it. Even $200 a month. Because the difference between the person who stays at $10,000 for the next 5 years and the person who builds to $50,000 is almost never income. It's habit. Level 3. $10,000 to $100,000. The awakening. This is where things start to get interesting. Because somewhere between $10,000 and $100,000, something clicks. You start to understand how money actually works, and it changes you. You open a brokerage account for the first time. You start listening to podcasts about investing. You use words like compound interest and index funds in conversation, and your friends look at you like you've joined a cult. Maybe you have. It's a good cult. At $50,000 net worth, life looks pretty normal from the outside. You're still probably renting. You might be driving a used car. You're not going on luxury vacations. But inside you have something most people don't: momentum. You check your investment account on Sunday mornings over coffee and you feel something. Not rich, not even close to rich, but moving. The graph goes up. Even when the market dips, you're buying more and you know it. You understand the game now. The $10,000 to $100,000 range is also where relationships around money start to get complicated. Your friends who aren't on the same path start making comments. "Oh, you're so cheap. You never want to go out anymore. Must be nice to be so responsible." And you have to make a quiet decision. Do you slow down to stay comfortable in your social circle, or do you keep going? The ones who keep going reach $100,000. That number changes everything. There's a famous concept in personal finance. The first $100,000 is the hardest. Charlie Munger said it. He was right. Because once you hit $100,000 invested, compound interest starts doing real visible work. You might make $7,000 to $10,000 in a single year without touching the account. That's a month's salary for a lot of people, generated while you slept. Your entire relationship with work starts to shift. You still need your job, but it stops feeling like a life sentence. Level 4, $100,000 to $500,000. The confidence zone. Welcome to the top 20% of wealth in most Western countries. Doesn't feel like it? That's because wealth is invisible. The people around you are almost certainly not where you think they are. At $250,000 net worth, you are doing genuinely, statistically well. And life reflects that, but quietly. You're not renting anymore, or if you are, it's by choice. You have a car that works reliably. You don't stress about the dentist. When something breaks in your apartment, you fix it without a financial crisis. This is the level where options start to appear. You could take a risk on a new career. You could leave a toxic job. You could move to a different city. You could take 3 months off if you really needed to. Not comfortably, not indefinitely, but you could. And that ability to choose, even in theory, fundamentally changes your psychology. You stop making fear-based decisions about money. At this level, people also start spending differently. Not necessarily more, but smarter. You start paying for quality over quantity. 1 good pair of shoes instead of 4 cheap ones. A slightly better apartment that actually makes you happy to come home to. You stop optimizing purely for cheapness and start optimizing for value. The trap at this level, and it's a real one, is lifestyle inflation. Because now you're earning more, investing steadily, and feeling good. So the new car feels justified. The nicer apartment feels justified. The frequent restaurant dinners feel justified. And slowly, without noticing, your expenses rise to meet your income and your net worth growth slows to a crawl. The people who escape this trap reach the next level. The ones who don't stay exactly here, comfortable and slightly frustrated for a decade. Level 5, $500,000 to $1 million, the threshold. $500,000. Spend a second with that number, because if you're here, you are genuinely in rare company. Less than 10% of people globally will ever see this number in a personal balance sheet. Life at $500,000 is comfortable, not flashy, not free, but comfortable in a deep, structural way. Your investment portfolio is generating somewhere between $20,000 and $35,000 a year on average, without you doing anything. That's a part-time income, completely passive. You don't need to touch it. You probably don't. But knowing it's there changes everything. At this stage, most people have a home with significant equity, a fully funded emergency fund, maxed retirement accounts, and probably some additional taxable investments. They drive reasonable cars. They take real vacations, 2 or 3 times a year, not once in a decade trips. They go to nice restaurants without checking the prices on the right side of the menu. But here's what nobody talks about at the $500,000 level. The psychology gets complicated. Because you're close enough to $1 million that you can see it. And that proximity creates a strange kind of impatience. You start doing the math obsessively. If the market returns 8% a year and I add $3,000 a month, I'll hit $1 million in. You pull out the calculator. Again, you already know the answer. You calculated it yesterday. The patience required to sit at $700,000 and just wait and keep going is honestly harder than anything you did to get from zero to $100,000. Because now the stakes feel real. Now you can almost taste it. Level 6. The $1 million mark. Reality. Check, you did it. $1 million in net worth. And I have to be honest with you about something, and because nobody else will be. It doesn't feel the way you think it's going to feel. You check the account. You see the number. You maybe tell your partner or your best friend. And then you go make coffee. You go to work. You sit in the same traffic. You eat the same lunch. $1 million in 2025 is not what $1 million was in 1985. Adjusted for inflation, it's roughly the equivalent of about $400,000 in the mid-80s. It's real, significant wealth. But it is not never work again money for most people. Not in a major city, not with a family, not with any kind of real lifestyle. What $1 million actually gives you is security. Real, deep, structural security. Your investment portfolio, at historical averages, generates around $60,000 to $80,000 per year. That covers a very modest lifestyle in most parts of the world without ever touching the principal. You stop worrying about retirement in an abstract way. The numbers work. They actually work. You know this because you've run them 100 times. You also start thinking differently about your time. Because at $1 million, time is visibly, provably worth more than money. Spending an extra 2 hours to save $30 starts to feel genuinely stupid. You pay for convenience in a way you never would have before. Meal delivery, house cleaning, parking close to the venue. Not because you're lazy, because you have finally internalized that your hours are worth something. Level 7. $1 million to $5 million. The real freedom zone. This is where life actually changes. Not in the way movies show you, but in the way that matters. At $2 million, $3 million, you are, by most definitions, wealthy. Not ultra-high net worth, but wealthy. And the practical reality of daily life starts to look genuinely different. You probably don't work because you have to anymore. You work because you want to, or you've stopped entirely. At 7% average annual returns, $3 million generates around $210,000 per year. After taxes and a reasonable lifestyle, you're living well and the portfolio keeps growing. You fly business class without guilt. Not first class necessarily, but you stop doing the 5-hour layover to save $200. You stay in good hotels. You eat at the restaurants you actually want to eat at. Your home is nice. Not a mansion, but nice. Exactly the way you want it. But the biggest change at this level isn't the spending. It's the relationships. Because money starts to complicate everything above a certain threshold. Family members who need loans. Friends who feel weird around you. New people you meet who are friendly in a way that feels slightly off. You start developing a finely tuned radar for people who like you versus people who like what you represent. At $3 million, you also start thinking generationally. Maybe for the first time. You think about your kids, your grandkids, what you can build that outlasts you. You talk to estate lawyers. You set up trusts. You stop thinking about building wealth and start thinking about preserving and transferring it. Level 8. $5 million to $30 million. The upper echelon $5 million. At this level, work is fully optional. Completely, structurally, mathematically optional. A 6% return on $5 million is $300,000 a year. A 7% return on $10 million is $700,000 a year. The numbers are almost abstract at this point. You have a financial advisor, probably multiple. You have an accountant who knows your name and calls you when something changes in the tax code. You have an estate attorney. You have a team of people whose job is to protect and grow your wealth. Your problems are different now. Not easier, different. Because money above a certain threshold creates its own ecosystem of complexity. Tax optimization becomes a part-time research project. Asset allocation across real estate, equities, private equity, and alternatives becomes a genuine strategic exercise. At this level, you travel the way other people watch travel documentaries. Private villas in Tuscany for 2 weeks in summer. Business class as a baseline, private charter as an occasional upgrade. You know the concierge at certain hotels by name because you've stayed there 5 times. But here's what's fascinating about this level psychologically. Happiness research is very clear that above roughly $500,000 to $1 million in liquid assets, additional money has a diminishing return on day-to-day emotional well-being. You're not happier at $10 million than you are at $2 million in any measurable sense. What you have is capability, the ability to act on almost any desire that can be solved with money. The things that make you miserable at $10 million are the same things that make everyone miserable. Bad relationships, lack of purpose, health problems, disconnection. Money removes the financial sources of stress. It does not remove the human ones. Level 9, $30 million, plus generational wealth. We're in a different world now. At $30 million, $50 million, $100 million, you are no longer managing wealth. You are governing it. There's a family office. There are multiple advisors across jurisdictions. There are philanthropic structures, charitable foundations, legacy vehicles. Your children will never know financial stress, assuming the wealth is managed intelligently. Neither will their children. The practical realities of daily life are almost impossible to relate to for most people. You don't look at prices for anything, ever. The mental load of financial anxiety, that constant background hum that most humans live with their entire lives, is simply gone, completely absent. But the existential weight is real. At $50 million, the question, why do I do what I do, becomes unavoidable. Because the answer can no longer be to survive or even to build. You've built. It's built. Now what? The people who answer that question well, who find purpose beyond the accumulation, tend to lead extraordinary second and third chapters of their lives. The ones who don't tend to drift into a kind of gilded restlessness that looks from the outside like paradise and feels from the inside like a very comfortable trap. The truth about all of it. Here's what I want to leave you with. Every single level we just walked through has one thing in common. The people who are genuinely thriving at that level are not the ones who got there fastest. They're the ones who understood why they were building. The person at $10,000 who is intentional beats the person at $500,000 who is sleepwalking. The person at $1 million who has clarity beats the person at $10 million who is running from something. Money is not the point. Money is the tool. And like any tool, it amplifies whatever you bring to it. If you bring fear, it amplifies fear. If you bring freedom and purpose and curiosity, it amplifies that. So the real question, the one that matters more than your current net worth level, is this. What are you building toward? Not the number, the life behind the number. Because you can hit any number on this list and still feel broke on the inside. And you can be at $10,000 moving with intention and feel genuinely wealthy in all the ways that count. The math is the easy part. You can learn the math in a weekend. The harder part, the part nobody makes videos about, is deciding what you actually want. Not what you've been told to want, not what looks impressive on paper, what you want. Figure that out first, then build the number that supports it. I'm Max. I'll see you in the next one.